everybody, welcome back to the channel. With me tonight on Satanist Says What? I've got our friendly Satanist atheist, Steve Hill, who I know was running a campaign earlier, but I guess you didn't make it through the primaries this time. So, but again, are you going to run again?
That depends. It's starting to look like the Democrat, they're still counting the votes. The Democrat just went up by approximately 6,000 votes.
Oh, okay.
The other Democrat in the race, I was one of them. I got 12.2%, 16,525 votes. We're basically running as a black Satanist. So,
so that was pretty good, 12.5%.
So that's actually not bad in America to run as a black Satanist and get votes. But it looks like the Democrat might pull this off. So, and we were kind of working together. So I wouldn't want to run against him. Yes, and our area has been predominantly run by white Christian nationalists for the last 33 years I've been here. Mm-hmm. So anytime we can get a change in office, another change in party, maybe we can make something positive happen out of it.
All right. Also with us tonight, we have Dr. Richmond Danso. He's a PhD from Howard University in political science. And also we have Ajwa Owusu Sutre, who works for a legal aid office helping those who want to have asylum in the United States. So welcome everybody to our panel tonight. I thought these three people would have hopefully some interesting things to say. And after the results of last Tuesday, I had originally thought of getting them together to talk about just some other things, but then Tuesday happened and I was like, so I know I've been eating my feelings for a week. I got to stop eating all the donuts and things. But I don't know how other people are coping, but hopefully maybe this conversation be one little diamond in the shit show we currently have going on here in the United States. So I'll open it up, perhaps say, Dr. Danso, or is there anything that, like on Wednesday, that you were thinking about, perhaps from your political science knowledge or just from your personal experience as an immigrant to the United States?
All right, so thank you for having me. It was just disappointing. I wasn't surprised with the results, honestly. It was just disappointing, especially the amount of votes that he won with. Winning the electoral college and the popular vote, that was like, I didn't expect that to happen. So that was a bit disappointing. But in general, I wasn't surprised that he won.
Ajwa, your initial reaction?
I would say the same. I would have been more surprised if Kamala won. But I also do believe in karma. And people think that they're going to get something and they're not going to get anything.
So this has probably directly hurt the people that you help at the office?
Yes. We don't know. I'm not an attorney, but we don't know how this is going to affect the work we can do, the type of programs that will be stalled or really anything of that sort. So it was kind of gloomy at the office.
And Steve, Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning, just trying to, kind of corral my disappointment in this country. Every time you think that we cannot be this stupid, I'm proved wrong. And it's disappointing, especially celebrating the Marine Corps birthday and being a veteran today and all the people who have sacrificed their lives and spent time away from home serving the country. And then you kind of realize that some of the people that you were willing to die for aren't even worth dying for.
Yeah, it is. It's just like a national embarrassment. I mean, I'm just like embarrassed and ashamed before the rest of the world that many people could vote for the most vile person that anybody could possibly put on any ticket. And I don't get it because it's like especially with the really evangelical Christians, you know, it's like, you get that he's like not a Christian. He doesn't care about you. You know, your values aren't his values. So why this like loyalty to this dude, right? I just don't, you know, I feel like even though I'm not particularly religious myself, I almost feel like just going up to people and like yelling at them that they voted for the Antichrist or something, you know, because it's like, you know, how could you do that? You have this, yeah, it's a woman, but she's like a prosecutor. She's educated. He can't even speak beyond the 4th grade level. You know, I mean, there's like no contest as far as I'm concerned. And yet millions and millions of people just, it just boggles my mind. So I was, you know, quite disappointed. I didn't cry as much as I did in 2016, because for me, 2016 was a real like surprise. I was like, how, you know, and now it's like twice in a row. It's like, really, are we just that stupid? Yes, we are. So I apologize to the rest of the world. I didn't vote for this man, and I don't know what I don't even what to hope for. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he's going to, you know, he's going to do his best to dismantle everything. The Justice Department, the Department of Education, the Department of Commerce. He's already said he wants to do all these things. You know, get loyalists in there so they'll be personally responsible to him and not to the Constitution. And it's like, I don't care how much I care. I like a politician. If I thought they were the best politician ever and I really wanted to vote for them, the moment they said things like, "Oh, just vote for me one more time, you'll never have to vote again," or "I'd like to like not answer to the Constitution," I don't care how much I liked you. That'd be it. Yeah, I wouldn't be voting for you, you know? And it didn't affect his following at all. So.
Yeah.
They don't care. That's what they want. They want that.
Don't want the Constitution, apparently. Now I understand why the evangelicals don't want that, because clearly they want to run everything according to their version of the Bible. So the Constitution is in their way. So.
Yeah, I'll never, after this election, I'll gotta admit, I'll never fully understand this country. I mean, you're talking about messaging. The people in our country thought that they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs is a better message than "I'm going to help you buy your first house."
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm a real estate appraiser. I see every day the trouble that these younger people have. And I'm talking about in their 40s, purchasing a house in California, where the median price of a house where I live in Los Angeles County is about $460,000. And that'll basically get you a starter home.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sell for that around here too. And I just don't. I couldn't afford a $400,000 house, you know. And it's just like, who are all these people buying all these houses? I guess they just have so much debt that they're just swimming in it. Because I mean, well, I'll say Steve and I are from the same city. He's from North St. Louis City. I'm from North St. Louis County, so not too far apart. So as Steve would know, and I'll inform you, North County is pretty racially diverse, at least compared to other parts of the county. And so generally houses are cheaper in North County because of things like white flight. But still, $400,000 or $500,000, just, you know, it's just like, who can afford that?
Yeah.
And that's in the cheap part of town, you know. So somebody's living there with a lot of debt or with no furniture. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, things are out of control. But then it's like, so let's vote in the guy who tanked the economy once before, and let's don't forget the Republicans tank the economy every time they're in. I was even reading something like during the Depression, and after we enacted all these New Deal things, you know, the country was coming out of the Depression, and I think it was 1937. That somehow the Republicans, I guess, had control of Congress, and so they decided to dismantle all the New Deal stuff because I guess it's giving out too much stuff to people for free, right?
Mm.
And the economy tanked right away, right again. And so by 1938, they had to backtrack all those things to put the New Deal back in place, because crashing safety nets and jobs wrecks the economy. And it's like they haven't learned from 1937 on. That's all they ever do. And people still vote for them.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people that voted for Trump they're not in the right tax bracket to actually benefit from the things he's getting ready to do.
His voters are poor whites who don't understand what they're voting for.
You know, I'm in California. There's a lot of Mexicans and Hispanics voted for him. Where I live at, we have approximately 57% Hispanic population because of the undocumented workers and illegal immigration. And for some reason, and I see it all the time. I work with a lot of people in the construction business, lots of Hispanics. They all aspire to be rich and white. I don't know if it's the mental conditioning that you get when you come to America, where everybody wants to be rich. But if you could be white too, it's all the better. You know, to get all the privileges of America, I guess you have to be rich and white. And that's what a lot of my Latino brothers aspire to be.
I believe that.
And I can't wait to see how these goddamn deportations are going to go. Because I know some people should be on the first thing smoking back to the border. I've been in real estate. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody cares. They know that we need these immigrants to work the jobs at the lower end of the social and economic ladder. They know this. All of this build a wall hypocrisy bullshit. They know that labor force is essential. It's like a pyramid game, and the immigrants coming in at the bottom. Everyone else moving up. Supposedly, that's the way the theory and concept is supposed to work. But these deportations, you think our country is divided now? Wait until you start splitting up families.
Dr. Danso, you have any thoughts on those things?
Just soaking in the wisdom that my colleagues are pouring. For the most part, it's spoken my mind. It's just interesting how you look at the demographics of voters, especially the Hispanic votes that Trump won. I mean, that was very surprising to me. But on a second thought also, I'm like, okay, we tend to put all Latinos in one bracket. And I think that's like something that we need to start to demarcate and look at. There are Latinos who are born here who sees themselves more as Americans. And to his point, to Steve's point, want to be white Americans, right? So they'll do everything within their power to look like that and separate themselves from the incoming immigrants that are coming in, right? Because for the most part, these older Latino folks feel superior to the ones coming in, and they want to detach themselves from them as much as they can, right? And part of doing that is to vote for the Republican Party, whether it's in their direct interest or not, that is a secondary issue. But to them, it separates them from being at least considered Native Americans, for lack of a better word, than incoming immigrant. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, we also have, they're not necessarily a voting bloc in terms of the Cubans, I think, definitely have like different politics than like maybe the Puerto Ricans or the Mexicans. So even within people who are coming in, depending on where they're coming in from, they may have different views and opinions on politics. But also, I just don't understand how people on the other side basically believe all the things. Are they eating the dogs and cats? I mean, that's out there. But also I saw several interviews today where people are asking, why did you vote for Trump? And so because there's millions and millions of basically brown people coming across the border every day. And I'm like, that's not physically possible. Come on. So where do you think all these millions of people, if they're coming every day, where are they, right? Why are there no pictures? Why there's no, don't you think the news would be out there? Just, or when they went down last spring, when Trump said that, these people crossing the border and a bunch of little MAGA red hats went down there to shoot some people and couldn't find any. And then they ended up shooting each other, which I thought was, hilarious. they couldn't find anybody to shoot. I mean, it's not happening. So, and the number of millions and millions is so big, and then they're coming every day. It's like, why are you swallowing this? That's just too big of a,
It's the propaganda.
Well,
I know.
They're receiving this propaganda and they forget to think critically about what they're watching, if it's true or not. They don't question, and it feeds their the hate that's in them. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what
these people are willfully ignorant. Same is the same force that was used to get, thousands of people to go and try to stop the certification of a free and fair election. It's that same force, that same rhetoric, unchecked power that would make people go and do that. And that's where everything stops with me. Being, I once took an oath to protect this nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And what we saw January 6th was nothing less than domestic terrorism, when you got people beating cops. And I wore a badge for 10 years. People beating cops with Blue Lives Matter flags. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then you go and vote for this guy again? I mean, I've got men in my family who fought for this country all the way back to the Civil War. Father fought in World War II, brother fought in Vietnam. I couldn't wait to join the Marine Corps. Matter of fact, I joined halfway through my senior year at high school. January, I was in MCRD in San Diego, 1979, January. And yeah, it's like I'm living in some kind of slow motion nightmare right now.
Nightmare is a word I've been using.
This is horrible. You try to get your mindset ready for the next 4 years. And you try to anticipate, all you can do is really hope that our guardrails for our institutions are in place and they're firm and strong and can't be derailed. I'm hoping that the people that this fucking idiot surrounds himself with, I'm hoping that they are just good Americans that know the Constitution.
Yeah, I don't know. I did see that Gavin Newsom in California is trying to shore up their protections in California, and that the governor of Illinois has told him that mass deportations aren't going to be welcome in Illinois. If you come for my people, you got to come through me first. He said something like that. Well, Illinois always has interesting governors, I'll put it that way. So,
Yeah.
But because you mentioned the oath, and I'm curious about this. I should ask my brother. He was in the Army. All enemies, foreign and domestic. And this is
correct.
He's clearly a domestic enemy. He's already tried to take over the governor once. He's
already said he's going to tear up the Constitution.
Exactly. So does that mean that the chiefs of staff and whoever's in charge of our military are they then able to say, you're not my commander in chief? Or
no,
I'm not going to obey you?
No, he's in the chain of command. He's the commander in chief because he won the election. But what they can do is not follow an unlawful order. That's where the military, that's where we can draw the line in the military. Milley did that when Trump tried to get the Black Lives Matter protesters shot in the knees. Milley said, no, we can't do that.
Well, he has said he wants to send the army against protesters. So, that doesn't sound very good. Hopefully the army would somehow avoid that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And that's the scary part. You have no idea what you just said. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
We will see. And I often wonder just the last few days, like, what if this fool would have actually lost? What would we be experiencing right now from his supporters? We don't know. We'll never find out.
What kind of violence? Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a long 4 years, and I'm trying to think of what I can do to try to do something constructive that opposes this whole Project 2025 crap. And and I've been thinking or overthinking, you know, that quote from Niemöller about when they came to the trade unionists, I didn't say anything because I'm not a trade unionist. So when they came to the Jews, I didn't say anything. But then they came for me and there was no one left to speak for me. And I keep thinking, well, okay, they're going to come for Steve and Dr. Danso and Adjua before they're going to come for me and then all my gay friends and trans friends. So I could sit here and wait to be the last one to pick up maybe. As a white woman, I guess I'm going to be farther down the list. Although as someone who put Steve Hill on my YouTube channel, maybe I would make it higher. Maybe Steve, you give me a little more presence there on the list of people they didn't like.
Oh yeah. Don't forget they've already come for me.
So, you know, it's like, okay, so I got to say something before they start coming for my gay friends and for my black friends. But what do I say? What do I do? That is, I think, currently my big question mark. So I've been thinking about that. If anybody has any suggestions out there, you can put them in the comments. What can a middle-aged white lady do except talk on her YouTube channel? Let me know.
Talk to your friends and relatives.
Yes.
They're dying to talk to you. Trust me.
They would like to tell me how much Hillary Clinton is a baby killer. So, you know, there's some reasons why I don't go to
Kamala herself is dropping bombs on Gaza.
Yeah.
They'll say anything. They'll say anything.
Yeah. But you know what? This country is so gullible because we need to look past some things like all the misogynistic and racial comments that comes out of this turd's mouth. We need to look past that so we can get to the real thing. It's the economy, stupid. That's bullshit. Some of this is
right
pure racism.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the unemployment rate's lower than it's been in decades. Inflation's down to like 2%. And they're like, well, I got to vote for the guy who's going to fix the economy. It's like, what needs fixing right now? I mean, things are too expensive. Okay, so there are things. It's not like the economy's ever perfect under any president at any time. But I mean, what else do you want besides 2% inflation and 4% unemployment? Is there, you know?
Right. And name a time in our history when shit didn't go up. I mean, when do you see things? When do you walk into the store? Oh, look, eggs are only $2 a dozen now. When do you see shit going down all the time? Things always go up.
And it's somebody in the middle who's getting it. Because my husband and I, our favorite Indian restaurant is run by this really nice lady, and we go there often enough. She knows us now, and she always smiles when she sees us. And after, you know, she reopened after COVID, I said, oh, how's it going? Are people coming back after COVID? And she's like, well, that's not really my problem. The customers are coming back. But before COVID, she could buy a case of potatoes for $35. And she says, now it costs me $150. So, you know, the farmer's not making that, right? And now she's not making it because she has to raise her prices to cover the increased cost of all her foodstuffs. So there's somebody in the middle who is extracting all of this money, right? So that now potatoes go up 500%, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we really do need to discuss things like wage theft in America. Because I know I'm a real estate appraiser. I still have clients still sending me over an order for a full property appraisal at $350. That's the same thing I was making over 20 years ago, and people are still sending over at the same price. And there's a middleman in my business called Appraisal Management Company. It was put in after the Frank Dodd Act to keep appraisers from being influenced by mortgage brokers. But that person in the middle is taking at least $200 or $300 that I should be earning. Some of my clients can afford to pay me $600 a report. Some of them want to pay $325, $350, and I'm like, why the disparity? When you give me $600, how can you afford to do that when someone else can only pay me $325? So that's wage theft. I'm actually thinking about filing a lawsuit.
So any thoughts on the economy, what it's doing, Dr. Danso? I don't know if that's a political thing. I
Sorry,
guess it is.
I'm just listening.
I told you Steve's interesting.
What was your question again?
Thoughts on the economy?
Well, I mean, to Steve's point, right? There's never been a point in history where prices will go down, right? Things will obviously go up. And it's just interesting how people try to associate that with Biden and to a certain extent Harris, right? But I think one of the things that Trump has spoken about more is increasing tariffs, right? And letting China pay for it, which I mean, as good as it might sound to his supporters, I'm just trying to understand how that will work out, because basic economics will tell you that if you put a tariff on China, whoever is importing the goods is going to increase the price of the goods. It passes that to the consumer. So at the end of the day, Americans are still going to pay for it. So I'm trying to understand the rationale and how that is going to affect the economy positively. I mean, from where he says. For the most part, I try to at least understand where they are coming from, maybe understand the logic behind their thinking, but I'm not finding any, right? So those are some of the things that goes through my mind when it comes to the economy. Maybe there's a better explanation that I've not yet discovered, but from a basic economic 101 perspective, I think that that's going to put the economy in a very bad shape, right? He did it
pretty quickly. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen several shorts today where reporters are going out to tell people how tariffs really work, and that it's going to increase the cost of goods because it's going to be paid by the company that's importing the goods. And they keep insisting, no, China's going to pay it. And they're like, no, that's not how tariffs work. And they're like, no, you're wrong. And the reporter like, no, this is how tariffs work. And then they're like, well, I didn't know that. It's like, why didn't you know that, right? I mean, you didn't educate yourself at all. And now you're surprised. So it's like what Nissan just announced 9,000 people get laid off before the end of the year, I think. And several companies have already stated there's going to be no bonuses at the end of the year because now they have to stockpile product for before the tariffs get put into effect. So people are already hurting at their pocketbook. They're not getting those bonuses at Christmas they thought they would get, and it's because of the way they voted. And then they get shocked when, as they said, I didn't think would eat my face. The leopard would eat my face, says the woman who voted for the Leopards Eating Faces party. It's like, I didn't know it was going to come back on me. And even I saw something earlier this morning where this woman who has an autistic child was surprised that somehow that he wants to get rid of the Department of Education and that, all these programs that benefit her child will go away. And he's like, well, he wouldn't really do that, would he? And it's like, well, what did you think? He says he's going to do it, And then you're like, oh, no. And I'm surprised the leopard ate my face, Well, what did you think when you voted for the Leopards Eating Faces party? I mean, So, yeah.
And there's something that no one's really mentioning right now. This guy might have an opportunity to replace 2 more people on the Supreme Court. Think about how scary that shit is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm getting my hands together. I'm getting ready to start picking cotton real soon.
Well, I have seen that somebody, and I don't know who it is, has been spamming Black African Americans with us about report to such plantation. So you can pick cotton.
That's gotta laugh, keep crying. Gotta laugh, keep crying.
Maybe I just don't understand people who hate other people that much. I don't, but it's like, I just don't get it, the appeal. And because all he is cruel. And we've seen it for years now.
He's a bully. The worst thing about him is he's a bully. And we don't have a bully as president. That's horrible.
And somehow that appeals to them. There was a member of our church who I will not name, although he has passed away since. The morning after the election in 2016, or I guess the Sunday when everybody was at church, he went up to my mother because they had completely opposing political viewpoints, and he knew that. And he sort of patted her on the shoulder very, paternalistically and said, "It's all going to be all right now." Yeah. Like, as soon as you get Trump in there, it's just all going to be all right magically, And it's just like, dude, did you not listen to what he was running on? I guess not, but it's a white guy and a rich white guy, so I guess he was better than Hillary, who, I don't know, had a weird voice. This lady had a weird laugh. I mean, it's just like, what? You want to discuss her policies? Maybe you don't like her policies, but she laughs weird. That's the okay.
Oh, I would love for her to be in the audience. I'm working on my first comedy special now. I'd love for her to be in the audience just so I could hear her laughing. I got a lot of Trump jokes.
I have this is one of my fantasies, I guess. I would love to somehow be able to meet the Chief Justice. And I just want to ask him, because I want to see his face. I just want to
Roberts?
ask him, yeah. I just want to know how he feels about the Roberts Court is going to go down in history, at least as bad, if not worse, than the Taney Court. And as many as Americans who would know who Taney was, he's going to know, right? And so I want to know what, I just want to see the look on his face when I ask him that question, because it's like the Roberts Court is going to be infamous throughout history, and you are the one who's the Chief Justice. It's going to be the Roberts Court, right? Not the Thomas Court or the Alito Court. It's the Roberts Court,
Right.
and it's going to be your name on that for the rest of time. And how do you feel about that?
I think right now, I think they're so drunk with power, they have no conscience. They're doing whatever the hell they want to because they're wielding all the power. And they're going to wind up with the House, the Senate, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, everything. And all we can do is hold on for the ride and hope that our institutions stand strong.
Thoughts, Adjoa?
Everything he said was correct. I was just listening. Sorry. I tend to think about things racially. Maybe it's too much. Maybe it's because I grew up here.
I don't think it's too much in the United States.
And everything for me is just an undertone of racism and sexism. It's just when you just go down to what it is, you just feel it in your spirit. It's like,
You're right. Hey, don't hide the way you feel. And I myself too get caught up in the racism thing. And I know white people are tired as fuck of being called racist. They automatically have a vitriolic rejection of that word. But if you're African American in America, you've lived here, you've experienced this shit. There's some things that's undeniable. People act the way they do based on race and their perception of you as a Black person in America. All the history that comes along with us when we just walk into a store. We got baggage and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
So that racial element is going to always be a prevailing thought in our heads because we know our history.
Yeah, I was telling my sister the other day, I can't even be at work and sit there and know I can talk to a coworker of mine who's also Black for more than 5 minutes because I feel like I need to get back to work. There's this subtle and always persistent knowingness that everything in this country boils down to those two things. And white people are nervous because they feel that they're finally having to realize they're white.
Let the people to the table.
Yeah. They feel like their country is slipping away. This beautiful, wonderful, shining city on the hill, they feel that it's slipping away from them. And then in 50, 60 years, it's going to be all brown people in charge. And they're going to be subjected to the ash pile of history and forgotten. That's not going to happen. I don't know why they feel that way.
Well, I heard Steve. I think it's because some white people, I think that as soon as Black people are in charge, they will treat us the way we treated Black people, and they know that we've treated Black people. Well, you are sure. I'm saying the fact that Black people want to talk about like reparations and stuff, and I'm not having been murdered in my bed. I think is proof of the level of civilization Black people have. But I'll rant a little bit at the white people here. I'll look right at my little camera and say, if you are white and you are an American, you are a racist. And I'm not counting myself out on that either. Because we grew up in a racist society. You can't escape it. So the best thing you can do is to say, okay, this is the truth. I grew up in a racist society. I have racist opinions and values that I don't even know I have because no one ever pointed them out to me. And it's your responsibility to find those and try to weed them out. It's not the responsibility of Black people to tell their oppressors how to fix themselves. You fix yourself. All right. That's my word to other white people. All right. Yes.
I believe they don't want to face what they created. They created race, which is not a thing.
Right?
Now that the system is so racist, and people are pointing out, why is this happening, and that have to actually undo everything and actively reflect, which is very difficult for them. I mean, even the most progressive white person gets all twitchy when you start pushing them, you know.
They're uncomfortable, you know,
Yeah.
and I can understand that, and I have an appreciation for that. I would be uncomfortable too if my history was full of barbaric and barbarism, from the Indians to slavery. It's like two things that no ethnic group would ever be proud of: enslaving other human beings. So, you know, once we can have all of these conversations, and I think this country shows just a little bit of attrition by giving Black people something valid, something tangible, like reparations. Damn, I'm willing to take $5 right now. Just something to kind of say, yeah, we were wrong, let's move on.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever felt guilty or whatever, white guilt or whatever, but because I know I had at least one ancestor who owned a couple of slaves. I saw his will, and he had 3 people in his will, so I know that for a fact. But I'm not him. He died in 1769. But so I don't have to feel guilty, but I'm sitting on top of the pile of privilege that he's one of the people who helped build, right? The slaves built this country, and they built the Capitol. They built, you know, the White House. They were out there being forced to, you know, build everything, and exploited Chinese workers built the railroad or whatever. So I get the privilege of all that. So I don't have to feel guilty for slavery, but I need to feel responsibility for trying to fix what's going on now, just where I'm sitting from.
Well, you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I think that this is how I imagine America. Once Black people get something, everybody else will come and say they need something. So I guess from the perspective of a white person, they're going to think, well, why do I have to pay everybody back? And then the question is, who suffered more? Who deserves more money?
Well, it doesn't have to be money. I know Steve's, last time we talked about this, Steve's idea was education, right, Steve?
Yeah. Send all of our kids to, you know, send a couple of generations of our children to any college that they qualify to get into, anywhere you can get accepted at. Pay a couple of generations forward so they can have education, therefore lifting them out of this economic struggle that we've been in since 1865, when they just set us loose with no land, no money, no nothing, and just said, oh, y'all free now. Good luck finding food. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary compensation, because that's going to get the biggest blowback. You know, anything is done for us, we get backlash for it. That's how we got Trump after Barack Obama. That was backlash.
Yeah, I was just hoping it was, because things kind of go in a pendulum, right? So you might get someone who's sort of a leftist, and then maybe for a while, then sort of on the right kind of gets voted in, and it kind of, but you hope that, you know, as King said, that the arc of history or whatever bends towards justice. And that slowly over time, the pendulum is actually, you know, going somewhere. So I was kind of hoping that Trump's first time in office was kind of like one of those swings to the right that was going to be like one of the last gasps of this particular generation's racism and misogyny, but I guess that was too much to hope for. So it almost looks like Obama was our last gasp, having a hope of civilization. I really feel like I live in a third world country with nuclear weapons, because like you can't get anybody to pay for infrastructure or, you know, education, and it's just like, and we're worried about brown people coming across the border in their millions or something. It's just like, this doesn't feel like I'm living in a first world country. But boy, we got some nuclear weapons around, don't we? And, you know, yay.
Uh, 5 wasn't that long ago. If you
What was
really
it?
think 1865,
Yeah.
Yeah, relatively speaking, I mean,
not long.
not that long ago. I know the place where my great grandfather was purchased. I know the town right below where I own property in Mississippi. I know the town square where he was purchased at as a young man. Not that long ago.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And until it's like it's hurting them more because they don't want to face it. It hurts them more and they don't understand what they're doing. They're just, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. I don't know if anybody has an answer. I don't know if anybody has an answer.
Here.
Yes, Dr.
He's
Danso.
an immigrant. He's got to have an opinion on what you see coming into this country. What do you see? What do you see we're at right now?
And I will say that Dr. Danso is from Ghana, which I'm sure the orange Cheeto would describe as a shithole country.
Shithole country.
Although I've been there, it's actually quite nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard, right? Because growing up, America was seen as an ideal model where other countries want to follow, right? In terms of like their democratic governance and everything. And I remember stepping foot here, and my host family then, the woman asked me, what are you studying? I said, I'm political science. And what do you want to do with it? So, well, I want to study American government and probably help implement that in Ghana. It's like, no, that's a bad choice. And I guess even then, I did not really understand the war because I did not understand the American system and how it works better. And I think she, being a white woman, was kind of surprised that a black guy would be like, I want to implement what America has done in my country, right? And so looking back, I now understand where she was coming from and where the country even then has moved to this stage. It hasn't been that progressive, for lack of a better word, right? We've just deteriorated. So it is difficult because obviously you want America to be respected in the world, not necessarily feared in the world, right? We live in a world where we passed that generation where you have to dictate to other countries. We are in a system where you need to command the respect, right? So it is just unfortunate that we take one step forward and maybe like 2 or 3 steps backwards. And people do not see the gravity of it, especially when it comes to even the whole Supreme Court conversation, right? To me, that is the most, that would be like one of Trump's legacy, right? Beyond his tenure. He can rule for 4 years and move on, but the interpretation of the Supreme Court, whatever they interpret, lasts beyond a decade, right? And that has a lot of implications, not only for America also, but for the rest of the world. So that is where my fear lies. And I think that is where anybody who cares to understand what's going on should be fearful about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's already got 3 on the Supreme Court. I mean, and now maybe he might have another couple people to appoint in the next 4 years. It's appalling.
Yep.
Yeah,
And they
I feel like somebody
for a very long time to come. Whatever decisions, interpretations that they make will live for generations to come. It might never be undue again, right? So those are hard conversations, and it makes the future look really bleak for American politics.
Well, that was quite a bit that we covered tonight. So I appreciate my panel being here, Steve and Dr. Danso and Adjoa. Maybe we can all talk about something else again sometime and come back to this. And of course, Steve, you have a standing invitation to do as many things on my channel as you want, since you have your own playlists. Remember that playlist, everyone is Satanist says what? So You can click on those. They will all feature Steve. And meanwhile, if you enjoyed this or didn't, you probably, if you're watching this and you don't agree with us politically, you want to put a thumbs down on this one. That's perfectly fine. YouTube doesn't care if you hit thumbs up or thumbs down. But hit something and leave us a comment, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You.